All right. Hello out there. Welcome to another episode of Family Finance Friday with DJ the Money Coach and Nick Westbrooks. And this show is brought to you by the DJ the Money Coach team and the Seven Spheres of Money Systems. And before we head to tonight's beach, hit that like button, share with at least 5 people, and hit that subscribe and the notification bell so you can be notified when these powerful and informative programs become available to you. And help us spread the message of the Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement, which is plenty of money, peace of mind. And we invite you to come join us on the beaches of the world. And tonight's beach, we continue with our tips for our parents and our students because it is back to school time. What you need to do and what you need to know to win in 2025 because we are in the fourth quarter of 2025. But before we get into all of that, DJ, how you doing tonight on this Friday?
Nick, as I always say, any day above ground with your health is an extraordinary day. And today is no exception to that rule, my friend. Today is Friday, the 5th of September. And I'm about to bounce up out of here and head back to Zanzibar as everybody is back to school. So I'm on a plane first thing Tuesday morning. So I'm excited about that. But I'm really excited about getting back in the saddle, getting people back into their regular routine, getting the young children, back acclimated to what they need to be doing. Summer is a great time to have fun, kick back, relax and enjoy life. And then, the fall is about getting back to business, man, taking care of that work. So this back to school part 2 is so important because a lot of times kids don't want to get back in the saddle because they've been having so much fun and relaxation and vacation. It's a hard transition for some of them. So one of the things that we have to start doing as parents is start to get them into the mindset the last 2-3 weeks of the summer and get them prepared to get off to a quick start. And I think that's a way that we can offset the challenges, especially when you're a child that's moving into a new school or you have graduated from one school and moving up to high school or, graduated from, 1st through 6th and you move into middle school because it's going to be a different change of scenery, change of environment, different expectations. And the best way to get out to a great start is to already have put in some pre-work. And as parents, one thing we have to have the ability to do is make sure we attend those PTA meetings, those open houses, so you can find out what the game plan is for the whole calendar year for your child or for your children without any excuses. As we talked about last week, the new operating system that most people are using, like Schoology and the other program you talked about, Google Works or whatever it is, you ought to have that synced in with your smartphone and know all the events and everything that's on the calendar. And you should schedule your work schedule accordingly to that calendar, because what's more important than the education of your child? And especially know what they're putting into the school that may not be of your morals, your ethics, and your principles, so that you can have options and not play the blame game. That is extremely important. So as we're moving into this phase, we talked a little bit last week about middle school and 8th grade. We got on to the start of talking about freshman year and introduction into high school. So let's kick off and talk about what that transition is to becoming that wise fool. So I'm going to turn that over to you and let's talk, because I remember for myself, when I was a wise fool, which is a sophomore, it was time to get serious about school. If you weren't serious before that second year, they really start kicking in and start putting that foot in your butt and start acting you to, act like a mature person, because now the grades count, and the sloughing off and everything does not help, because now, if you hadn't already taken that PSAT in 8th and 9th grade, You're going to take that PSAT in sophomore year. And a lot of times that PSAT can get you a scholarship. You score 1,200 on that PSAT, that's scholarship material. That's universities reaching out to connect with you. And hey, scholarships are scholarships. You don't have to necessarily wait to take the SAT or the ACT, which very few people take in certain regions. Hey, man, why not get off to the fresh start and get that locked up, just like these athletes do? They like to get them pre-commit letters where they ain't got to do nothing, but, now they can really lock down, take some of that pressure off. So let's talk about what is the transition and expectations for the parents and the students beginning that Wise Fool year.
Miss my unmute button. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the PSAT. And one thing that is important for students to know about that PSAT is that in order to receive that information about scholarships and information about colleges in general, they need to fill out that demographic information at the beginning before you start the exam. The administrator gives you ample time, extended time to fill out the information. And some students make the mistake of not filling it out because it's optional to fill out the demographic information. So don't make that mistake of skipping the college information and checking the option to receive information about colleges and scholarships, because you'll be missing out on those opportunities and leaving a lot of money on the table. And now going into the sophisticated moron year of high school, I've taught all grade levels of high school at one point: freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. And this is how the progression works. And the progression of how challenging the coursework is: you get your easiest classes as a freshman, then your classes become progressively more challenging as time goes on. And senior year, depending on the school district that you're in, you'll only have a few requirements left to fulfill, and you'll be able to end your day early. Or if you're in the school district such as the one I work in, they require the seniors to take a full load of classes, and some of them are taking advanced placement and dual enrollment classes. So the mistake that students making that transition from 9th grade into 10th grade, they notice how easy 9th grade was, and they think they can just coast along into 10th grade using the same study habits, the same mindsets that they applied in 9th grade. And some of them might get along in 10th grade, but the consensus that I received from my current seniors — I'm teaching seniors this year — the consensus that I received was that junior year was their hardest year so far out of the 3 years of high school: freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And my theory is junior year was probably the most challenging, because as school became more challenging, the workload became heavier, the concepts and the skills became more challenging, these young people didn't adjust their study habits to the increasing difficulty and challenge of the work. And not just in terms of their study habits, but just in terms of their mindset and their approach and their attitudes towards their education. And one thing that I want to emphasize that I didn't get a chance to speak on in last week's show is the importance, along with getting help early on, it's the importance of learning the information for a deeper understanding of the material, and not just to get the grade. And the grade is a byproduct of gaining a deeper understanding of the information. And the reason why it's important to get a deeper understanding of the information is because when students or even their teachers or their parents overemphasize grades, the student will just do whatever they can to get the grade, which may mean cheating, using AI to do the work for them. And when they do that, they're not actually learning the material, and they're not gaining the skills. So by actually taking the time to learn the information and not, as DJ the Money Coach would say, shortcut the shortcut, it doesn't bite them in the behind later on when they get into higher levels of education, where they're not able to, I guess you could say circumvent the process and cheat their way through. So I'll land my plane there to open up on that transition from 9th grade to 10th grade.
Yes, also too, on the financial side, as a family preparing for college, this is when you have to start beginning to understand how they determine what scholarships and what financial, help that they're going to assist your household based on your household income. So with FAFSA and different types of scholarships, it's based on household income, heads of house, and things of that nature. And right now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, you are in the professional middle class. We'll address the below the radar after that, but this is important from the simple fact that when they take a audit of your assets, whose assets do they consider to be the most important as it pertains to awarding your child or your children with scholarships? And a lot of times, Nick, ladies and gentlemen, people get this question wrong. They think that they're more concerned about the parents' assets and don't even think about the child's assets. And this is the reason why I'm talking about the professional middle class, because there's a certain level of education financially that if you are astute and paying attention to providing for your children's children, you have already set up the parameters of assets. What do I mean? You may have set up a custodial account for your children. You may set up an UGMA, which is a universal gift of mature account, which means that you can start having people contribute to your children's, retirement fund that will be, pre-taxed, but those assets start accumulate under your child's name. Although you are the custodian for it, that is your child's asset. And so when the colleges and the scholarships and the grants are looking to dole out money to, qualified individuals, they're looking at their assets more so than your assets. So one of the cool things to do in this regard is to put those assets accordingly for your children in your asset column. So when they audit you and they audit your child, and if your child does not show any discernible assets, he or she will qualify for more free money. And I remember when I first learned this from my CPA, Mary Lou Helm, and she at the time, very successful, and her children received qualified scholarships for people typically that had lower incomes. But the reality, there's loopholes to everything, ladies and gentlemen. So one of the things that we do here at the, 7 Spheres of Money, or what we call in our curriculum, the Learning Institute for Financial Education, which is Choose Life, the acronym, is we actually show you how to legally structure your assets so that when the audit is done through FAFSA, if you have assets for your children, they're not held against your children for you doing the right thing, and they get less money. So if you have set up Roth IRAs in your name and annuities, things of that nature, but you have set up UGMAs and savings and checkings account for your children, and you have been doing a good stewardship and put money into that, they're now looking at those assets that your children have to lower the amount of money and scholarships that they'll give you. Conversely, when you do it smart, you're able to get more free money than people who are impoverished. Now, I hear what you're saying immediately. Hey, DJ, that's not equitable. That's not just. Yes, it is, because that's the system. You have to know how to play the game. So many a times when I started my practice, Nick, back in 2002, focusing on families, I tried to teach and educate them how to work within the system and find the legal, ethical loopholes so that when they are doing the right things financially for their children, they still get that money that they're paying their taxes to. And that's very important. And I'll tell you, it's very important. It can be just as simple as having the proper head of household denoted on the paperwork. My son, who graduated from college full scholarship, he was able to qualify for certain scholarships because we set up our parameters the proper way that our assets and his assets were not, revealable legally, ethically, and morally sound. And I don't apologize for that. So while I have his funds and everything set up, certain times we had them set up in proper entities that were his, but owned by my company, so that when he had that, 4.5 GPA, and he graduated from top tier high school in the 7th percentile, he got scholarship to the University of Texas. And throughout his time at the University of Texas, he continued to qualify for scholarships, and immediately we made sure that he became, not legally emancipated from us, but he became an individual when he was in college so that he can actually fall into a lower tax bracket. You understand what I'm saying? So that way, his scholarships gave him more money. There were more grants and everything available because now he was operating at his own person, even though he still was legally our child. And a lot of times we miss out on this. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most important times to start getting that up, because they're going to look back sophomore, junior year and look at your financials, especially when they're giving out this money that is free based on household incomes, head of household, married people, single families, and what are the assets that your child may have. Another thing that's important, there's different types of vehicles. See, most of the time, you're taught to only look at 529 plans. Now, to the credit of the 529 plan, it's come a long way. It used to have very limitations on it, very strict limitations. If I had a 529 and I'm in the state of Illinois and my child got fully, scholarships and everything, that money that you start putting in that 529 for however long you did, let's say you have been doing it for 10 years and you accumulated $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Now that your child has gotten a scholarship, that 529 money cannot be used for anybody else for any other reasons. And now if you want to, redeem it or cash it out because you don't need it to pay for school, but you may need it to pay for, housing and things of that nature, they now taking 40, 50% of that out, just like a regular retirement plan. So what the 529s have done as of today, they've become more lenient and more flexible like Roth IRAs, but they still have their limitations in terms of contributions. So what do I mean by that? It's a state-by-state case as well. You need to know this. Most 529s, 95% of them, don't allow anybody other than guardian or parents to contribute to them. Now, there's a vehicle that works like the Roth IRA called a Coverdale. And a Coverdale allows anybody that's a relative to contribute after-tax dollars, $2,000 per person, per child. Here's a great thing about the Coverdale, Nick. Let's say your child wants to go to electrician school, HVAC school, chef school, non-traditional colleges. The 529 does not allow you to do that with the 529 proceeds. The Coverdale, ladies and gentlemen, allow you to do that. The Coverdale also, if your child did receive a multitude of scholarships and grants the Coverdell allows you to use that money automatically for any other type of expenses. So you can easily start using the Coverdell for boarding school, private high schools, HVAC schools, electrician school, carpenter school, mechanic school. And these are after-tax dollars, so it works, ladies and gentlemen, just like a Roth IRA. So one of the best things to do is to have an evaluation, sit down with your financial planner and go through your assets and strategically know how to set them up with the right entity so you'll have an umbrella partition divided so that legally the assets that you have been setting aside for your children's college fund, if they have qualified for scholarships and grants, you don't have to be penalized because your child did a great job. And I see this all the time, Nick. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this financial education thing since 2002. And I have personally sat down either face-to-face, via Zooms, and other kind of platforms, over 45,000 people in almost 24 years. And you may think that that's a lot of people, but that's really not a lot of people. That's about, 6,000, 7,000 people a year. In essence, maybe 200, 300 a month. So in the course of doing that, Nick, I've seen everything. I've seen people that make $6-7 million a year have their children getting all the scholarships that people were impoverished were supposed to qualify for. But when they showed their assets, they had any. And most of those wealthy people had most of their revenues through their entity. So them, just like Jeff Bezos, was getting money from the government because he was considered on paper to be insolvent. Believe it or not. Knowing how to legally manipulate the tax loopholes that are written. So right now, getting your child set up academically is very important, but most importantly, from a payment standpoint, it's important to get your child set up financially and sit down and explain to your child how these things work so that they don't get strangled by the debt of a student loan. And most importantly, there's no guarantee that you get out of these student loans anytime soon. Student loans, when I was coming up, they were paid off in 10 years. Now student loans get you hooked for 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I have sat down with people that have had student loans of $400,000-$500,000. Now, albeit they may have master's, doctorate degrees, but that is just ridiculous. And that's the only loan that you can't bankrupt out of. Now, there's other ways to get around those scenarios through strategic planning, which we can show you how to do. But first things first, if you take your child's education seriously and you have him or her working hard to get scholarships and grants, do community service, and get active, it's more important for you to protect your enterprise for the monies that you have set aside for them so that they can get a good jump start into their professional lives. One of the biggest things to keep people away from freedom is student loan debt. Imagine, soon as you graduate, 6 months later, they're collecting on your student loan. Another mistake is people prematurely go into forbearance and thinking that because the payment is stopped, that they're stopped charging you interest. A forbearance does not stop the interest on the loan. It just stops the payment. The interest is still, accruing against you. So if you're going to do the proper back to school setup to get your child through, high school and on their way to college, you need to side by side give them an academic plan and a financial plan. As it pertains to people who are working class or impoverished, you have a lot more opportunities to get a lot more free money. And if all you did right is what Nick said, fill out the optional demographic paperwork. And a lot of times, I understand we don't want to fill out that stuff because we don't want to become a statistic that they use against us. But conversely, if you are in an impoverished situation, there are special programs that they allot and set aside just for you, but you have to fill out the data. And there's still ways to protect yourself in that regard, that you can fill out the data. When you fill out the data, you don't necessarily have to tell them everything specifically about you. You can start purposely creating a profile that will protect your identity at the same time. Give them just the information that they need so that you still qualify for all those programs. But if you're not planning, emphasis on you're not planning, then you deserve what you get. If you're spending more time over the summer, have planned that vacation, planned that AAU, trip, and bought all these things, and then you are nickel and diming the most important apparatus for your child, which is a solid education. Shame on you, especially in the digital world. So it's so important right now that you sit down side by side with your child, sit down together as a family and get everything in order. Make sure you have that Coverdell. Make sure you have that HSA. Make sure you have that custodial Roth IRA. Make sure you have that Roth IRA. Make sure you have that life insurance policy. Make sure you have that budgetary plan for your child. Make sure you set up the 4 envelopes for success for your child. Start teaching your child at 7 years of age about money. And if you didn't start doing that and you just hearing this message for the first time and it's resonating, it's hitting home. If your child is in their junior or senior year, start right there, because you still have an advantage of age is on their side. One of the things we do better than everybody is we've been teaching this basic course called Family Finance 101 since 2002. And the course itself teaches 136 principles of financial success. And it literally shows you how to create a millionaire in your household for your child as early as 12 years of age by putting aside as little as $100 a month at a 7% return. One of the other things you ought to do as you are embarking upon your, as he called the sophisticated moron, class, or as I call, the wise fool, which is what literally the translation of sophomore is I begin teaching my child about currency. And guess what? If you are going to a top tier school nowadays, which most kids have the advantages of because the parents know where to put them at, your child ought to be taking some form of finance class in high school, ought to be taking some type of speech debate class in high school, and ought to be doing significant community service as well. These are the things that in that sophomore year, you start getting, more rigorous curriculum. And now you're focusing on treating your life like a business, and you're able to excel beyond other people's expectations because first and foremost, you have a plan. Not only do you have a plan, but you have a family plan on where we're going for us as a family. Now you get exposed to the financial literacy part of it, and you start to incorporate that into your life, and everything that you start thinking about is assets over liabilities. And now you start looking at the way that you want to look at that top tier school and break down what the investment is to go to the right school to get the right position to begin the right career. And you really should start that in your sophisticated moron year. So right now, parents and children, it is imperative that you are dedicating 1 hour a week to the financial responsibility of getting the right education in the digital world. Know how the programs work when you are successful that will prevent you from getting the dollars and charge you more for education. Know how to get the dollars when you are impoverished or working class to make sure you get all that free money that's out there that a lot of times, ladies and gentlemen, goes unacclaimed because we don't want to put ourselves on the data sheets, but we end up crying victim. In the digital world, there's no excuse for that. The best way for you to do that, again, is to sit down, get yourself an analyzation of your household, sit down with your children, and let them know what their responsibilities are. First and foremost, the responsibility is to get the best grades that they can get. Secondly, be the best student that they can be, because a lot of times too, Nick, they have a lot of scholarships out there with people who just have C averages. You do a lot of community service. You're a good representation of the community. They have programs out there. And then if you create the right relationship, learning how to work on the soft skills, the CEO skills, building relationships with your teachers, your administrators, your advisors, these people are going to naturally look out to say, hey, that scholarship over there, that grant over there, I've got a kid for that program. Because that makes everybody look good. If they grab that program, attach you to it, it works, you win, they win, the school wins, the community wins. Thus, it takes a village to raise a child. That's one of the things that I wish, Nick, that when I was coming up and my mother was busting her butt to keep us in private school, she did not know what she did not know. We could have had all of that sponsored by other programs based on the hard work that my sister and I did to, get great grades and be active in the community, which we were. But my mother, she didn't know about these programs out there. And that's a difference between now that information is fluid today, but it was not in the analog world. So there's no reason why you as a, working class person, single parent home, that you got a good kid that doesn't have a portion, if not all of their college paid for, and you don't have a lot of debt. See, one of the challenges is too, Nick, and ladies and gentlemen, especially for our young girls and young ladies, that right now, more than ever, the Black woman is the most educated person in America. The dirty secret behind that, Nick, the Black woman is the most indebted person in America if they have a secondary or a PhD. How do I know, ladies and gentlemen? Because I personally have sat down with all of them. Soon as they start telling me they got more than a bachelor's degree, they got an MS and an MBA and a PhD, I automatically know I'm going to be looking at $150,000, $200,000, $80,000 in debt. And what you don't realize is that, again, soon as you are 6 months out of graduation, payments automatically due. So you have people out here, Nick, paying student loan debt payments that are bigger than people's mortgage payments. This is fact. So how do you expect somebody like that to get ahead if all of a sudden, yep, I got that MBA, that MD, that PhD, but I've got immediately a payment of $1,600, $1,800 for that, and I don't even have an adequate job to pay for that. And then they dangle this little thing called a forbearance, which you think is they're stopping payments and interest. No. This is the reason why the government turned the student loans over to private institutions so they can make that money. And what you don't realize, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to everybody outside of the USA, most countries don't have student loan debt. They cover that for their students. So how do I get ahead of that and still win? You get ahead of that by sitting down with a qualified financial educator and setting up a strategic plan that you can march through from your sophomore year to your senior year in college. But unfortunately, most of you will poo-poo. You'll spend money on vacations, dance lessons, all this great stuff. You even spend lessons on tutoring. But for some reason, you won't invest the money on a financial educator who knows what he or she is doing to get yourselves debt-free and off to a great start. But at the same time, you'll be upset because your peer is off to a great start and their parents bought them a house, or their parents bought them a car, or their parents turned over a business to them. You have the same opportunity. So this is very important. So now that we get back in the saddle, school is back for everybody. Let's take a moment to sit down. And I would encourage you to do it on the weekend because that's when you're trying to kick back and have a good time. Hey, man, master the hard things in life and life gets easy. 98% of everything that you do on this planet is directly impacted by your money or your lack of money. How nice would it be if your child got out of high school, got that full ride plus stipend, graduated out of college, and let's say you had a household income, single parent, $40,000, but your child totally out of debt, got some shekels in the right vehicles, and now they get that $60,000, $70,000 job and they can put a down payment on the American dream, which is their first house. How much less stress and freedom would they have if you started today? See, there's a saying. They say people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And people do what they want to do, not what they should do. So if you master the easy things in life and you're the grasshopper versus the ant, you're going to appear to be winning in the short term, but you're going to be losing in the long term. And in today's world, Nick, that we live in a digital world, there's no excuses anymore, baby. You can Google, search any and everything that you're interested in. In our class, we teach that people spend more time on the stuff that they want versus the stuff they need. We show you in the class how to do the formula to offset phosphor pinging you because you've been doing too much of the right things right. What do I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen? I remember we were doing things so right with our interest money market bearing accounts and our interest on our home that they told us we made too much interest on our money to get the allotted tax write-offs that we were afforded that we knew about. Can you believe that? At one time, we were doing our program and we had six figures in a high yield money market account, and we were doing the great interest off our house, and we were offsetting some of the small student loan debt that my wife at the time had accrued. And I'm like, man, we writing all this off. They all know you can only write off a certain percentage, and you exceeded that amount because you've been doing too good, Mr. DJ. I'm like, what? So guess what I did, Nick? Soon as they told me that, I went and looked for the formula to beat the system. And we found it. See, but most time we get discouraged And we start wanting to play the blame game, and we like keeping them stacking that against us instead of saying, hey, what are the wealthy, affluent people doing? Because I don't hear them complaining about this. And we find the vehicles, ladies and gentlemen. We find the experts. And we make it our focus to get it done. Because guess what? Just like that, 5 years go by. Just like that, your high school years are going to go by. Just like that, your college years are going to go by. Just like that, you're going to look up, you're going to have $60,000 to $150,000 in debt. You're going to have that nice sheepskin, but you're not going to have a comparable paying job, and you're going to be upset at the world because you didn't take the time to do the hard work and the heavy lifting early in the game. So today is no better time to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. And the most important thing that you owe it to your children is that they go into their young professional lives without debt. You may say, hey, well, you know what? My child is stepping out and got a $125,000 starting salary. But if they got $250,000 in student loan debt, they still stressed out. And you might find that hard to believe. But guess what? Most Americans have a lot of debt, and it's attached to student loan debt. I like to call it professional debt. That's the first thing we do, Nick. We sit down. Hey, how much student loan debt you got? Oh, no, we don't work. No. How much student loan debt you have? Because see, if you got a multitude of credit card debt, I can get you out of that. But I might not be able to get you out of student loan debt because it can't be BK'd. But there's vehicles that we're able to utilize when you begin assets. Another thing that you want to strategically do if you have done things right is start getting your children the right cap of assets that can actually accumulate at 7% annually per year, because that means that principal will double every 10 years. And then you acquire the right passive asset that you get for your child, and you set them in motion to win. Because the majority of wealth for the average middle-class American is based on home ownership. What if you were wise enough to get the right insurance policy at the youngest age when it costs pennies on the dollar, literally? What if you were wise enough to grab one real estate investment property that made you, a modest couple of $100 a month in net operating income, in addition to the tax write-offs that you get with that can offset some of that debt that you're carrying from other vehicles? That's not sexy, but it's super sexy when you get to the end of the marathon. And while you're doing that, you're teaching that child how to become independently wealthy and totally free. I was so excited, Nick. I saw it today. No, it was last night. Young gentleman over at University of North Carolina, basketball player, has got a nice NIL project, NIL contract. He actually became the first college student to independently own a Ben & Jerry's franchise. He took the NIL money and bought himself a Ben & Jerry's franchise, bro. At 21. Imagine what his life is going to look like. Does he have to play in the NBA? No. He runs his Ben & Jerry correctly. He takes that NIL money properly, get that asset, get a real estate property, grab himself some dividends, get himself annuity. Man, icing on the cake, baby. What's the difference between him and you guys listening to us? His parents had a plan when he was a sophomore in high school. Because you just don't stumble on getting a Ben & Jerry's franchise even as a professional, mature adult, yet alone a 21-year-old young man. You do that because when your parents set you down at 7, 8 years of age and taught you about finances and how money works and had you playing cash flow for kids, now you became a professional investor at a young age. And again, remember what I always say, you can be 1 out of 1 successful in any endeavor other than professional sports and entertainment. What do I mean by that? Everybody that you see, even now with these influencers, because they're celebrities now, they're not celebrities to me, they're celebrities to you. For everyone that you see successful, that's appearing to make the lifestyle and the money that you want, there's 3-4 million of them that are worse off than ever. But every one of those people who have a teacher's degree, a dental degree, a lawyer degree, a medical degree, an engineering degree, they are 1 out of 1. Everyone that goes down that lane and sets up their structure and their plan properly have 100% success in that endeavor. Everyone that you see on the big screen, on the court, on the baseball diamond, doing content at a high level, they only represent 1 out of every 3 to 5 million people. So those other ones have very bad, dark stories of no sight of success. But you choose the glitz and the sizzle over the hard work. You don't have to do that. This is the reason why we're focusing so importantly on these back to school series, because this is the time to put the children aside and get the big boy pants and the big girl panties on. And dedicate 1 hour a week. The average person right now, this is crazy, spends 7 hours a day, man, on some type of platform that's digital. You tell me you can't find 1 hour a week, read an annual report, look at some dividends, and I hear you. Oh, I don't have any money. But that same person talking about they don't have any money, it never ceased to amaze me how they always got an expensive phone in their hand. They'll go on a payment program for 36, 48 months for a $2,000 phone that in China costs $50 to make. They'll buy a purse like the dumb lady who was so excited on the viral video that she got a loan for $35,000 for a burqa bag. Oh, let's go you a stupid fool. Because you want to shortcut the shortcut, baby. And the saying is always the same, Nick. When our counterparts get a cold, we get the flu. When our counterparts, get, depressed, we get a recession. But in today's world, no excuses. So we're going to come back after these words from our sponsors, which is us, for us, by us. You're watching Family Finance Friday, affectionately called F to the Q Power, baby. This is the Back to School Part 2 series. So check out these words from us, and we're going to come back and talk to you a little bit about what the juniors ought to be doing to get themselves right for that scholarship offer. We'll be right back after these messages. out everything. We're going to give you a master training, 3-hour course, 2 consultations. We're going to teach you how to build credit up to $100,000 interest-free for 18 months. Pay off your home in 7 to 10 years. And most importantly, create $8,333 a month passive income. It's a $997 course. You get it all today for $97. Hit that link and beat me to the master training. Welcome back. You're watching Family Finance Friday with Nick Westbrooks and yours truly, DJ the Money Coach. This is the Back to School Part 2 episode, and we're talking to those sophisticated morons, as I call them, the wise fools and their parents, and we're teaching them to get their ducks in a row, to incorporate a plan to build and do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. And what we want to do now is we want to talk to those juniors and those junior parents and what they should be looking for and what they should be striving and planning to have a successful junior campaign, which is the most critical year in high school. My daughter just finished her junior year last year. Now she's starting her senior year, and she's already got a variety of different scholarships being offered to her. And she pretty much, is going to be able to cruise a little bit, but instead of cruising, she's doubling down and taking a little bit more hard courses that are college credit related in her senior year so that she can stay ahead, man. So Nick, what are some of the things that those juniors and their parents are to be doing here in the beginning of the first semester of their school campaign to make sure that they get their senior season set up right and got the college scholarships coming knocking on their door instead of them chasing them?
Yep, absolutely. So just like DJ's daughter, make sure your child is enrolled in those challenging courses, especially those courses in which they can earn college credit. Sometimes they can start taking them earlier on, during freshman or sophomore year, but in most places, students usually aren't allowed to take those classes until junior year. Of course, there's some exceptions if your student is exceptional or an outlier, but for the average student, junior year is usually when they're prepared to take those advanced placement courses, or if your school district offers dual credit courses. That, and I'll speak on the financial side as well, that will significantly, save you, your family, your child, lots of money, on in terms of those college credits, those advanced placement courses, and make sure that they're studying, adequately so they can earn a high enough score on the exam, which usually happens at the end of the school year in May, so they can earn those credits. And then I can, let me do that. Let me explain the difference between dual credit and advanced placement, just in case the audience out there isn't aware. Advanced placement classes through the College Board, students can receive college credit dependent on their performance on the end of course exam that usually occurs in May. And it's on a 1 to 5 scale. I forgot the exact language, but a score of a 3 out of 5 signifies yes, we recommend this student to receive college credit and they're prepared to take college level courses. 4 is that they're extremely prepared, and then 5 is like they're beyond extremely prepared, or extremely recommend college college level courses or credit for these courses. Now, dual credit or dual enrollment, on the other hand, is a little bit different. While in advanced placement courses, you can get an A plus as a grade in the class, but if you don't perform well enough or score high enough on the in the course exam, you won't receive the college credit, regardless of how well you performed in the class. But with dual enrollment courses, as long as you earn a C or higher, you will earn that credit, for that course and that in that class. So there isn't an end of course exam that determines whether you receive the credit or not. Of course, there are your regular benchmark exams, such as your midterm and your final exam. But as long as you pass the course, and that's another thing, students out there, you cannot get lower than a C in the college class. In high school, you can get a D and still pass on to the next grade. But in college, if you get below a C, that's not, that's considered failing, and you have to repeat the course. So C is the lowest you can get in a college class. It doesn't matter if you're out of high school and you're taking that class at a community college or a university, or whether you're taking the dual credit class while you're in high school. You have to get a C or higher in that course in order to earn the credit. Now, we're continuing on with college, and we'll talk about other alternatives besides college. But the other thing that you should start working on during your junior year is your personal statement. Your personal statement is an essay that you include with your college applications. Now, you all have it much easier in this era with the arrival or the implementation of what is it called again? Common App. Yeah, Common App is the name of the company. So Common App is a portal where you can apply to multiple colleges at once. So before Common App, you had to apply to each school individually. Had to do an application, individual application for each school you applied to, an individual essay for each school, unless you were able to recycle the essay. But if one school had a different essay topic from another school, you had to write a completely different essay if you're applying to more than one school. But with Common App, you're able to apply to multiple schools all in one shot. Just write one essay, complete one application. But not every college is included on the Common App program or the portal. So there are some schools, particularly Ivy League schools, that are not included on the Common App, and they have their own separate application process. But that saves you a lot of time because a large majority of colleges are included on Common App. But start working on that personal statement. That's an essay, and it should be the easiest type of essay that you will do in school, because you're writing about yourself. There's a lot of flexibility in regards to the topics that you can choose. Common App provides 5 or 6 topics, but there is a prompt where you can choose your topic and write whatever you like. The important thing is that the admissions team is able to see that you're able to write, articulate, talk about yourself, provide a narrative of who you are, and so they can see your personality through your essay and your application. So start working on that personal statement during junior year, so you don't have to worry about it when senior year comes around, especially if you're looking to participate in early action, in which the deadline is usually around mid-October for early applications, early admission college applications. So definitely get the personal statement done. FAFSA, start getting the documents together. You don't start the FAFSA until your senior year, but like DJ mentioned earlier, that application is going to require your financial documents, your family's financial documents. So start looking for your previous year's tax returns, have that available so you're not scrambling senior year to find that information. Of course, the FAFSA window is open, throughout the year, but the later you wait, the less resources that are available to you, in terms of grants and funding and aid that you don't have to pay back. Now, for those of you that aren't interested in college, or you're considering another path, you should be thinking about that as well. Too many students say, I'm not going to college, but they don't have a plan. What is your alternative? Is it trade school? Is it the military? Is it getting an apprenticeship or starting a business? You should be thinking about that during junior year if you haven't already. I would start thinking about it, freshman year or before you even get to high school. But if you haven't thought about it yet, junior year is the time to really start thinking about that and seeking out companies or organizations that will provide you work experience through internships or apprenticeships or volunteer work or community service, so you can get that experience on your belt and add it to your resume. Some schools provide vocational internships through the school. Some of them you might have to seek out yourself, but be proactive and seek out those opportunities.
Yeah. With that said, this is one thing that I have found out when I moved down here. This is the time for the parents to start joining organizations that give away free money just by you being a member. Now, this was something new to me, Nick. And I found out, especially in these oil companies, you can go get on their voluntary programs as an adult because they give away a ton of money. And you just have very little things show up to a meeting once a month. I remember when my partners told me about his son getting a scholarship, and his son only had like a C average. He said, yeah, man, we got a scholarship over here from, it was either Amoco or Shell Oil. He said, yeah, I joined their voluntary club about 3 years ago because one of his partners told him about it, and it cost him nothing but $100 a year and to show up to one meeting every month. And when his son got into his junior year, he put his hat in his name in the hat, and then getting something like $15,000, $20,000. Now, the funny thing about this, he was reluctant to share that information with me. So, parents, right now, reach out, join. See, they have something down here called the Houston Livestock and Rodeo. And the Houston Livestock and Rodeo have about 20-something different committees. And each one of those committees are volunteer-based, and each one of them give away thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of scholarships to their voluntary members. This is where you as the parent have to get active and get into these programs and start having your children show up. Another great program is First Tee. Your YMCAs, your Rotary clubs. Yes, this may be a little bit out of your comfort zone. However, a lot of the people in the know get money from these organizations because they have to get rid of the money because they're 501c3 charters. And so if you're really serious about taking that debt load off of your student, you got to go out and find these organizations. And another great thing about this, Nick, is that once they're in those organizations and they get that money, they are now opening up a door to become a career path with these organizations. And we always complain about, hey, man, where do we get the breaks at? It's the best kept secret right in front of your face. Think about that. Oil companies, fintech companies, software companies, they all have to give contributions to some form of charity, non-for-profit organization as part of their good welfare program. All you have to do is look it up, and you know where it starts at your own company. Do you know that each Fortune 500 company, they give a dollar-to-dollar match for contributions to charities of your choice as an employee? There's so many ways to skin a cat to get this education paid for. And I will be honest with you, if you're now starting your junior year, you're late, baby. One of the biggest advantages is early pre-application window. See, people think, oh man, I got time to do it. But if you want to ensure, practically guarantee that your student's going to have, a scholarship, a grant, an opportunity, pre-application, early enrollment. As soon as that button clicks, hey man, whatever you're doing, drop it, get in that program, get your information in, and then you can sit back and relax while everybody else stressed out, fighting over scraps when you already got it. And every time they're going to look up and be like, oh man, how did you get it? Now, here's another thing. It's like I told you about my friend, don't be stingy. Share it with everybody. Take care of you first, just like on the airplane. Get your ducks lined up with the program that you found out with, and then share the information. There's nothing wrong with that, because guess what? Why should I go do all this research and give you the lead before I even get my stuff qualified? Does that make sense? So right now, because most companies, corporate companies, their fiscal quarter ends in September, August, and they're already starting 2026. So if you start calling into them, finding out what community programs, what volunteer programs that they have, and what scholarships that they give out, you can just go, if it's a publicly traded company, get their annual report. It'll tell you everything that they're involved in. But the reality is, you don't want to put the work in. This is not stuff that they're going to just publicly announce. It's public, but it's not public. It's like they say, if you want us to not get ahead, just put it in a book. All of these companies have to contribute in some capacity to these types of programs. So look in your community, find out what the community, and it's not just at your church. I hate to tell you, your church is the hardest place to get anything done other than them taking your money. The Rotary, the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, man, they give out money to a variety. Just for instance, Nick, at the Houston Livestock and Rodeo, they have what they call the Black community. I can't remember. It's Black something. I was on the board and everything. They gave out when I was participating. This was 2008, 2009, 2010. Every year they gave out $25,000 scholarships. So I got on the committee for the scholarship approval. Nick, I'm sitting down. Now this is a Black community. I'm sitting down looking at applications. Asians, Hispanics, applying for something that's supposed to be exclusively Black, Nick. And lo and behold, guess who got majority of that money? I give you 3 guesses. The first 2 don't count.
Not the Black people, in which is supposed to be for the majority of the Black people.
Absolutely. Ain't that something? Man, I was so pissed. And I'm saying to myself, why are y'all even allowing them to apply for these applications? Oh, we don't have enough Black people applying. We got to get the money away. So you can't go out into the community and tell the kids to fill out the information, do a little community work for $25,000? So I literally had to choose the people to get the money for. I had one vote out of like 12 people on the committee. So you know what I was doing? I was just cherry picking. Smith, Williams, Banks. Get them the money. $25. Then they had another committee called the Communication Committee. They were giving out $50,000 scholarships. And here's the thing, Nick, you could apply for every committee. But while you, mom and dad, are out partying, getting on TikTok as a family, you letting this committee money go to the other guy and gal. You can be rest assured the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is not allowing you to come in and be a member and give your family their contributions. But we always want to kumbaya with everybody. I couldn't believe that, bro. I got on the committee and they say, yeah, well, here's the different departments in the community. You know, since I'm in finance, I say, hey, I want to be in the thing pertaining to where the money goes, where the money rides. Oh, well, we got a educational scholarship, committee that chooses the scholarship to 25 people for 25. Oh, sign me up. Man, I'm thinking, okay, all 25 people going to be black. I'd say about 65% were black, Nick. 35% were Asian and Hispanic. And all they had to do, bro, is fill out the application and have above C grade point average, free money. You didn't have to attend any of the committee stuff. You just had to get an application in, bro. So whatever major companies are in your corridor, go look up their scholarship fund committees, community organizations. Even if you don't believe, you know what? Tell the truth, shame the devil. If the KKK had a scholarship fund, I'm applying for it. What? You do that? Shh. That's the first one I'm applying for. Think about it. I'm showing right up. I'm on a trucking committee, a YMCA committee, a city committee. I just put my name in the hat, bro. Stay on their email list. Boom. Okay. Yeah. What? Okay. Yep. Let me put my child's name on that. Robert Kiyosaki said, real simple. You have a vase. It has 1,000 marbles in it. Only one is blue. And the blue one is worth $1 million. He said, now, in the school system, you're taught you got to get 90 out of them 100 marbles correct to get an A. In the business world, you can miss 999 of them bad boys. And on the 1,000th try, get that blue marble, and you're a millionaire. In essence, what am I saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, parents? Fill out early, often, more than possible. Put the numbers in your advantage. It ain't about percentages. It's about, did I get an opportunity? That's the difference between winning and losing sometimes. Not having the ability to put your name on the application. Fill out so many that you just pass out. And all of a sudden, you get that knock on the door. Hey, you just got the scholarship and you forgot about it. How do I know this works? Real simple. Just in business. Man, Since December of last year, December 2024, yours truly, DJ the Money Coach, was putting in 100 calls a day, emails, direct messages on IG, social platforms to tell people about our business and our trip opportunities in Zanzibar. And lo and behold, boom, June, July roll around, people I remembered contacting, hitting us up saying, hey man, I remember you sent me this information. Can I do business with you? It works. See, this is the only time when the school system works against you, because they're telling you, hey man, if it's 100 questions, you got to get 90 of them right to be considered elite. No, that's not the way it works in business. That's not the way it works for you pursuing them scholarship and grant opportunities for your daughter or your son. Swing the bat. So as Nick said, if you're starting that junior campaign and you haven't started doing these things and they got open enrollment early, applications, as far as I'm concerned, you're late. But when's the best time to plant a tree? Yesterday. And if you didn't do it yesterday, today is that day. So all of you, by the sound of my voice right now, who have done nothing, number one, don't guilt yourself. Dust yourself off, pick yourself back up, and make today that day. Go get that information. Put a plan together. Matter of fact, Nick, you know what we got to tell them? Put that 4x4 up there. Because here's where the rubber meets the road. This is where talent, intelligence has nothing to do with real success. Real success is based on the 4x4. Number one, the 4 dirty little words. Discipline. You either discipline yourself or society will discipline you, and it won't be great. Number 2, accountability. That's that 1 hour a week sitting down with your child, your school administrator, your advisor, and getting some stuff together to hold accountability. You have a part to play in this success. I have a part to play in this success. And there's no I in team. It's we, us, our. That's the language you have to start speaking. So accountability. And allow your child to say, hey, mom, hey, dad, did you fill out that application? Hey, son, hey, daughter, did you do that community work? Did you sign up for this program over here? Get your butt off of TikTok. Matter of fact, you shouldn't even have a TikTok app. Number 3, plug into the system of success. Talk to the Nicks Westbrooks of your educational school system and let them tell you what programs you ought to be plugging into, what systems you ought to be on. Schoology, Google Works, whatever it's called. Plug into it. Go to the parent-teachers meetings. Go to the open houses. Pull up the data and find out about the community programs in your community now, not at the end. And don't be crying, the blues because you did it last minute. Do it right now. Get ahead of the game right now on September 5th. Nick said they don't start taking those tests and everything in May. You get that stuff out of the way, man, you cruising. And a lot of times, ladies, I'm going to be real with you. A lot of times, the people who get most of the stuff is the ones who just fill out the paperwork in advance before anybody else, and they usually have the lowest grades. But because they got on the radar before anybody else, that person remembers them. And then when I call up and find, hey, Nick, I just sent my application in the first day it was due. I'm just checking to see what everything. Oh, who are you? Oh, I'm DJ the Money Coach. Now, he's writing down DJ the Money Coach. Now I hit him back up in October. Hey, Mr. Westbrooks, how you doing today? How was your day going? Hey, this is DJ the Money Coach. Remember I told you? Oh, yeah, I remember you. Then guess what? I call him back in November. Next thing you know, in December, he's calling me. Nick, is that not how it works?
Yep, yes it is.
Soon as an opportunity come across your desk, first thing, oh yeah, I remember that guy, DJ the Money Coach. He sent the application in on September 5th. He called and checked in to see if the application was processed on October 5th. November, so December, boom, you find out something before anybody else. First thing you thinking about, hey man, let me hit up DJ the Money Coach. It ain't because DJ the Money Coach is getting favor from you. It's because you constantly reminded him, and he's the only one ringing your bell. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick.
Nope. That's right. That's right. Because oftentimes we're trying to think of who to share these opportunities with, and we forget, or we don't know who to share them with. But if you're reaching out, following up, I remember you. I'm like, oh yeah. He or she told me to let them know when this opportunity becomes available.
Man, say that again, Nick. What'd you say? Most of the time, repeat that to them, because they got to hear that, because anybody can do that. You as administrator, you're busy. You got all kind of different responsibilities. So you're trying to think of, who do I get this information to? But guess what? Boom, that DJ guy. Say that again to him, Nick. That is so important. That's nuggets.
In any given year, I can have between 80 to 100 students that I'm trying to remember for certain opportunities, and there's a variety of opportunities. So the best way that I remember who to share those opportunities with are those students who make themselves known. And I know, and I remember, okay, that DJ guy, he said, he's into baseball. There's this program, where they can earn a scholarship for, connecting geometry to baseball. He'll be perfect for this program.
Man, dude, I'm telling you, here's the thing. So again, that's plugging into the system. You create your system of a follow-up and a follow-through. Then you just go to work. You're not counting the at-bats. Do you hear me, ladies and gentlemen? Mm-hmm. You're not counting the misses. Nope. You're just doing the strategic, consistent work day in, day out. Plant the seeds. So now that you've done the 4 dirty little words, and also most importantly, what are you doing? You're teaching your child a work ethic. You're literally teaching your child how to become a professional. You're okie-doking them in a positive. Think about that. So now you take those 4 dirty little words, and now you got to apply the 4 P's, which are the soft skills of becoming a CEO, Chief Executive Officer. So the first thing is professionalism. So guess what? If Nick has office hours at such and such time, man, you hit him up. Hey, Mr. Westbrooks, can I get on your calendar to talk about that early app that I sent in that you said opened up on September 5th? You don't want to do nothing but make sure he knows your name. That's it. And if he knows your name, guess what? That means you filled out the paperwork. Let's put those 4 P's up there so they can see, Nick. And here's the funny thing, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it requires to become successful in anything in life. When do you want to start teaching your child this? You know how many people I know who have kids got perfect grades out there struggling financially? Because they haven't been taught this basic stuff. So now that professionalism, now the persistence is having it on your calendar. Boom. Today, September 5th, October 5th. I'm going to put it on my calendar once a month. I'm going to touch bases with Mr. Westbrooks. Persistence. Then comes, you want to tell your kids, it really doesn't have anything to do with your talent or your intelligence. It's the ability to persevere. Keep moving forward. You may not get the scholarship over here. You may not get the scholarship over there, but you constantly are planting the seeds. You're persistently pursuing your plan of action day in, day out. If you get up every day and brush your teeth and wash your face and comb your hair, guess what? That's the same thing you got to do towards your scholarship opportunities. We don't like doing it, but we do it. So you need to have a great educational hygiene. As Nick talked about, start preparing yourself to go on Common App and putting your apps out. And guess what, man? I'm pretty sure if you make one payment and it's going out to all, you done saved a ton of money. Now you got to perform. So when they tell you, hey, man, you've been chosen 1 out of 1,000 people, you got to be here. You've been putting that work in, practicing on your speech of accepting the scholarship. You see all this pre-planning work so that you'll be ready. You got to be ready to stay ready. So Boy Scouts, always be over-prepared, because this is the most important aspect of your young life. It's not you out here partying, looking for a girlfriend, looking for a boyfriend, trying to get likes. Unless you come from well-to-do, your most important job is taking care of this business. Because again, Nick's going to say, yeah, I got this kid over here. And then, matter of fact, I've seen this time and time again. One administrator will ask another administrator, hey, you got anybody on your radar? I just came across this grant that I don't know to give to. Oh, yeah, I got this other kid over here. Does it matter? Oh, man, they can have multiple. Boom. You've seen these kids when they highlight, they got 17 different scholarships. And you know internally you hating, but you shouldn't be hating because they did the work. You don't know the work that they had done. But imagine if you right now today set up 1 hour a week, sat down with the team. And that team could be a single parent and one child, and y'all sat down and worked out a game plan. And then you found yourself an advocate like Mr. Westbrooks. And now you put in the information when he told you early application for ABC that can benefit your child starts today. Boom. Yep. I don't want to go through the hard time to fill that out, but I don't want to be paying $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year for a education that ain't even getting me a real job. See, here's the thing. Winners hate losing more than they love winning. Did you hear me? Winners hate losing more than they love winning. Thus, they will do the work because they don't like losing. You want to get a winner to kick some butt? Tell him or her he can't do something. This is what you have to do, parents. So you can cruise into your senior year with your child and y'all on easy street, because now everybody's coming to you. Here's another secret. Why do you think kids who don't seem to have any talent be managers on the sports team, be assistants to this organization, be bat boys and stuff? Because there's financial opportunity for scholarships by playing those roles that you don't deem important. Do you think that those kids who are playing the flute and the drums and the horns at them games, they on scholarship, baby? That team manager on scholarship. That ain't sexy to you. You want your son and daughter always to be the star. And again, your son and daughter ain't wearing these rings right here because that's 1 out of 3 million. But see, my sons and daughters wearing these rings because they doing the management. They filling in the application early. They're establishing name recognition with Mr. Westbrooks. They not out on here TikToking. But if you don't know what your real priorities are and you don't have your vertical alignment in proper order, you're going to be just like everybody else, a sheep, better yet, a lemmy, following some other fool to take you off a cliff that you don't even see coming. So you want to get down with the right back to school blueprint. You got to start today. You got to incorporate those 4 dirty little words. You got to put these 4 P's together so you can have the real peace of mind. And you got to follow the program that Mr. Westbrooks is telling you about. He's in the educational system, high school specifically, for the last 12 years. He might know a thing or two about success. And the same rules apply to who you should follow. Number 1, I got to get myself somebody that's lined up with God and emulate the principles that they emulate, not the personality in the pulpit. Number 2, I got to find myself who is a leader that got the fruit on the tree from the principles that they incorporate in their lives, not because they on some show. Number 3, find myself a successful financial educator who has proven track record of getting people into school and getting them into school with little or no debt. And latch on to them and make yourself available to them. Here's what Robert Kiyosaki taught me. He said, DJ, if you got somebody in the industry that you admire and they're successful, go find them and make yourself available to them on your dime and your time. And I remember he said, I said, what? On my dime and my time? And then one day, I'm in North Carolina going through the airport, and I see this dude named Armstrong Williams strolling across the airport, and he had been a guy that I was following on this outdated political black show, and he was successful. And I introduced myself to him. I said, hey, man, is there anything I can do for you? He said, yeah, man, I'm going to be at this Merv Griffin charity function in Phoenix, Arizona next week. Nick, next week. I had known this guy from a hole in the wall, been admiring him for years. He said, next week. I turned to my then at time wife and I said, hey, change my schedule. Can't even afford to go to Phoenix, but I'm going. I go to Phoenix. I get introduced to all the top tier people. Next thing I know, this brother's writing the foreword to my first book. So you're not going to do that. Man, you want me to spend my money, my time to go do something for him and don't get paid? See, you a short-term thinker. You done already cut off your blessing. He done put me in a room with multimillionaires. Didn't know me from a hole in the wall, but I made myself in a servanthood capacity and got the blessing and was authentic. How many of you was willing to do that and not cut the cost? But you will go out here and get the red bottoms, whatever, the cool, funky gear and everything, and go to the party and all that stuff. But you won't go out here and do that. But you'll be the first one complain, hey man, how did the Asian guy get ahead of us? How did the Hispanic kid family who ain't got nothing get ahead of us? But they went out at the club. They went on TikTok, TikToking. You don't know they were out there serving people. Now talking about, oh, you know what? Man, you know, I can't work for less than $30 an hour. Ain't got no experience in nothing. But you telling this person you need $30 an hour and they can open up multi-million-dollar opportunities for you. Do you know that those people at the bottom that have a work ethic and a humility like they do, they end up being at the top? Everybody has to pay their dues in some shape, size, or form. What better way to start teaching your children some humility and some servitude and play the long game? Be assertive. Be that family that's getting those early opportunities because you put that work in when everybody else was playing. And then share the wealth and opportunities with other people. Don't be all, tight and, oh man, I can't share this with nobody. Wrong way to go, baby. Wrong way to go. So I think we've shared enough with you guys and gals today. I got to start getting my packing. Well, I've got 60% of it done. But man, put the work in, baby. Don't negotiate the price of true success because you short-term thinking. And guess what? Everybody has a situation that's relative to their struggle. Yours is no special to nobody but you, but the way you go about it determines your true success. Make yourself available. They say the number one asset in professional sports is availability. You never know when that person in front of you going to have a promotion or a demotion or be out of the game when all you had to do is be second in line and ready. There's always blessings on the extra mile if you do it with the right heart, the right humility, and the right mindset. So you guys got to come join us on these Beaches of the World Club. You want the pom-pom lifestyle, which is plenty of money, peace of mind? You got to do the work that nobody's willing to do to earn the peace of mind, to get the plenty of money and have it for a long period of time instead of the short-term thinking. So do yourself a favor. Start reading. Start applying the 4x4 and stop counting the work that you have to do for true success. Don't negotiate the price of real success. Put the work in, do it with happiness in your heart, and allow God to bless you so you can be a blessing to other people. So you've watched Family Finance Friday, the Back to School Part 2 episode. On behalf of Nick Westbrooks, I'm your man, DJ, the Money Coach. Next time I see you, I will be in paradise, baby, putting that work in. Taking care. Big event that we're putting on September 14th to the 18th. We're going to rock it out the house. Hey, man, hit the link. Get the back to school special. And then come to paradise with us and have a good time. And we will applaud you and we will appraise everything that you've done and tell you, hey, welcome to the Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement. That's what it's all about, baby. So have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Showtime TV for everybody on the NFL, because right now, Shedeur Sanders has got the number one selling jersey in the whole NFL for a 5th-round pick.
I think he's going to have a good game, but I think he's going to use that as leverage to get out. And I actually think, I have a prediction of what team he could possibly go. He got paid a lot of money, and there was a lot of potential trade destinations. I'm pretty sure the GM was looking for offers, but eventually he got paid and got paid a lot of money.
So as it pertains to today with Scary Terry, Micah Parsons, the true sign if they are really winners, they'll take a little less money to stay with a great team, especially for Scary Terry. Cowboys, they ain't got a chance to win no championship this year, even if Micah Parsons is paid 10x more than everybody else. They're not winning the championship no time soon. Do you think we're going to remember them if they don't win a Super Bowl?
Probably not. Hey, I'm Jax from Dropping Dimes and Stats with DJ and Jax. And don't miss out on our weekly podcast.
Thinking out the box from where I stay. Am I wrong? ain't trying to do what everybody else doing, just cause everybody doing what they all do. If one thing I know, I fall but I grow. I'm walking down this road of mine, this road that I call home. So am I wrong, thinking that we could be something for real? Now am I wrong for trying to reach the things that I can't see? But that's just how I feel. But that's just how I feel. That's just how I feel.
Find out everything. We're going to give you a master training, 3-hour course, 2 consultations. We're going to teach you how to build credit up to $100,000 interest-free for 18 months. Pay off your home in 7 to 10 years. And most importantly, create $8,333 a month. Passive income. It's a $997 course. You get it all today for $97.